What if the deeper story of the Filipino people has never been forgotten, only overlooked, not buried in old manuscripts or distant myths, but woven into themes, patterns, and promises found throughout Scripture? For generations, Filipinos have asked, who are we meant to become? And now that ancient longing seems to collide with a narrative thousands of years old, a narrative that may illuminate the spiritual identity of the nation in a way few have ever considered. This isn't mere history. This is revelation meeting destiny. Because what if the Philippines was never just an archipelago rising from the sea, but a people whose calling reflects biblical themes of resilience, faith, and divine purpose? If so, then the Filipino identity is not accidental, it is prophetic, and every Filipino carries within them a story far greater than bloodlines or borders. Before we step into this mystery, I invite you to type 777 in the comments, not as a superstition, but as a symbol of readiness, a sign that your heart is open for whatever heaven may reveal. And to everyone who has supported this journey through Super Thanks, thank you. Your generosity is helping these spiritual explorations reach those searching for clarity, identity, and hope. Prepare yourself. As we turn the pages of Scripture, patterns will emerge, connections will unfold, and a surprising portrait of the Filipino spirit will begin to take shape, one that may leave you breathless. The journey into this mystery begins now. Filipinos' hidden biblical heritage. You won't believe this. Beneath the golden sun of the Pacific lies a nation that has always been more than a scatter of islands. The Philippines, 7,641 fragments of land shimmering across nearly 300,000 square kilometers, stretches over the western Pacific like a vast mosaic, each island a paragraph in a story older than the nation itself. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Three great regions carved by geography, yet bound by something deeper, something that feels almost scripted. One can't help but wonder whether these divisions echo an ancient pattern, a story whispered long before modern maps existed. To the west lies the South China Sea, to the east, the Philippine Sea to the south, the celeb sea waters that have not only protected the archipelago, but connected it to worlds beyond. Taiwan, Japan, Palau, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, China, nations circling like distant watchers as the Philippines stands at a maritime crossroads, touched by many histories, yet never claimed by any. When the prophet Ezekiel once described distant lands at the edges of the seas, carrying stories to far-off nations, he spoke in imagery of coastlands shaped by journeys, movements, and destinies intertwined with the tides. And today, one could look upon these same waters around the Philippines and wonder if they too hold narratives not just of trade and travel, but of purpose. Within these islands lives a people of profound diversity, ethnicities, too many to count, languages that shift from region to region, cultures layered like sediment from centuries of encounter and resilience. It is the 12th most populous nation on Earth, anchored by Manila, a city where the ancient and modern share the same breath. Quezon City pulses beside it, an urban heartbeat in the vast tapestry of Metro Manila. But can such convergence of tribes, languages, identities truly be accidental? Or is it possible that this gathering of peoples across centuries hints at something orchestrated, a design woven quietly through time, waiting for the right moment to be noticed? The stage is set islands that appear ordinary yet positioned with uncanny precision, a people many in number yet unified by threads unseen, a history rich with struggle and survival. What story lies hidden here? And why does its unveiling matter not only to the Filipino people, but to anyone listening? The answer sits just beneath the surface, waiting to be drawn into the light. Long before the islands carried the name Philippines, the first quiet footsteps across their untouched soil belonged to the Negritos, resilient wanderers whose lives intertwined with forests, mountains, and the rhythms of the land. Centuries later came the great Austronesian waves, voyagers who crossed the seas with languages, traditions, and stories that stretched back into the ancient world. Their migrations resembled the great dispersions mentioned in Scripture, echoes of the human story spreading outward after the flood, as recorded in Genesis 10. While historians trace these movements through anthropology and archaeology, one cannot help but wonder whether beneath the surface of Filipino identity, there lies a symbolic resonance with humanity's earliest chapters, a reminder that the story of these islands is woven into the broader saga of the world itself. Over time, layers of belief settled upon the archipelago. Animism shaped the earliest worldviews, binding tribes to mountains, wines, and unseen spirits. Later, Hindu and Buddhist influences drifted in like distant tides, leaving traces in folklore symbols and rituals. Then, Islam arrived, Dadis Rajas and sultans rising to govern communities with authority that was both political and spiritual. Were these shifts merely the result of trade routes and migrations, or part of a larger narrative unfolding across centuries, preparing the islands for encounters yet unseen? Trade transformed the archipelago into a crossroads of worlds. Chinese merchants from the Tang and Song dynasties braved unpredictable waters, bringing silk porcelain and philosophies that shaped generations. Many remained their families, merging into the local tapestry until new identities emerged. Filipinos, whose ancestry held whispers of East and Southeast Asia entwined. As cultures blended and kingdoms rose, a question lingered like a shadow. Why here? Why this archipelago? Why did so many worlds converge upon these shores? Was it random or preparation? Then the horizon shifted. The sails of Magellan's fleet pierced the skyline, ushering the islands into an era that would reshape their destiny. Though he came bearing the ambitions of empire, his arrival marked a turning point that history could never reverse. Soon after, Ruy López de Villalobos bestowed the name Las Islas Filipinas in honor of Prince Philip of Castile. Across Scripture, the act of naming is never trivial. It marks turning points, covenants, destinies. What destiny then began to unfold when these islands received a name that would echo across centuries? By 1565, the archipelago fell under Spanish rule through New Spain, binding it to one of the world's greatest empires for over 300 years. Catholicism swept through the islands, raising churches where sacred groves once stood, anchoring faith that would shape the majority of Filipinos for generations. Manila emerged as the beating heart of trans-Pacific exchange, a city where silver from the Americas met silk from China, a convergence uncannily reminiscent of Revelation 7:9, where nations and tongues gather in one place. Could Manila have been a faint reflection of such a vision, a city destined to stand at the meeting point of world's empire, left its imprint of struggle, devotion, resilience, and transformation? But beneath the stone walls, along the bustling ports, and within the hearts of the people, a question persisted. Was colonization merely the march of empire, or part of a much longer story whose roots reached far deeper than Spain? The late 19th century ignited with revolution. Filipinos, farmers and poets, laborers and leaders rose to claim their right to govern themselves. This uprising collided with the Spanish-American War, and when Spain fell, the islands were thrust into new hands. The Philippine Republic was declared only to face another conflict, the Philippine-American War. These struggles, though bitter, echoed the cycles of burden and deliverance found throughout history. Ecclesiastes 3:1 whispers, "To everything there is a season." Was this turbulence a denial of destiny or its preparation? The American period followed then the darkness of Japanese occupation during World War II. Yet after suffering beyond measure, liberation came, and in 1946, independence was finally proclaimed. The nation stood like a survivor, rising from ruins, scarred yet unbroken, much like ancient Israel returning from exile. But the journey was not over. Dictatorship cast a long shadow until a peaceful uprising without swords, without bloodshed, toppled a regime. The world watched in awe as the Filipino people proved that unity grounded in truth could dismantle even the strongest chains. Zechariah 4:6 echoes through this moment, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. Over centuries, the islands carried many names: San Lázaro, Las Islas del Poniente, Islas del Oriente, Las Islas Filipinas, Philippine Islands. Each name reflected how outsiders attempted to define these shores. Yet through revolutions, wars, colonizers, and constitutions, one name endured: Republic of the Philippines. Names in Scripture often signal purpose. Could this enduring name, surviving empire after empire, signal that the identity of this nation has been preserved for something greater than its past? Perhaps the story of these islands is not just about geography or conquest, but about a destiny unfolding across ages, a destiny waiting to be understood. The Philippines has always been more than a nation of scattered islands. It is a vast tapestry woven from countless migrations, encounters, and stories, each thread carrying its own ancestry and heartbeat. From the beginning, geography shaped identity. Mountains guarded tribes like sentinels, seas separated peoples, yet invited unexpected connections, and valleys sheltered cultures that blossomed in isolation. Diversity was not an accident here. It was the landscapes doing a quiet miracle unfolding over centuries. And yet through this fragmentation, a mysterious unity persisted, echoing the beauty described in Psalm 133:1, where harmony among many is called good and pleasant. Could it be that the Philippines was fashioned as an early picture of unity amid difference, a living parable of what the world has always struggled to become? Census numbers tell part of the story. Tagalog at 26%, Bisaya at 14.3%, Ilocano and Cebuano each at 8%, Hiligaynon at 7%, and Bicolano at 6%, Waray at 3%. 8% distinct tongues, distinct traditions, yet bound by one nation. It is almost as though the fragments of Babel were gathered in one archipelago, not to scatter, but to coexist, preparing a people with a capacity to hold many identities without losing themselves. Beneath these major groups lies the even older soul of the nation, 110 indigenous communities, Igorot, Lumad, Mangyan, Palawan tribes, guardians of rituals and worldviews older than written memory. Their stories are not relics, but roots, whispering that the Philippines has always carried ancient depth beneath its modern skin. And what does Scripture say? Acts 17:26 reminds us that God marked out the times and boundaries of nations. If so, then the Philippines, so diverse, so layered, was no mistake. It was appointment. The earliest migrations add more shadows to the portrait. The Negritos, among humanity's oldest wanderers, walked these islands long before kingdoms rose their lives, echoing the primal movements of early humanity. Later, Austronesian voyagers arrived, bringing with them the languages that still pulse through Filipino speech today. Their roots may trace to the Aboriginal peoples of Taiwan. Their journey spread across the Pacific like an unfolding prophecy of human expansion. Some groups like the Lumad and Subanon showed ties with mainland Southeast Asian peoples, proof that the Philippines has always stood at a crossroads of human history. Into Mindanao came migrants from eastern Indonesia and Papua, carrying traditions that would take root in the southern islands. The archipelago was never a cul-de-sac of culture. It was a bridge, a meeting place, perhaps even a preparation. Empire deepened the mosaic. From China came settlers whose descendants still shape the entrepreneurial heartbeat of the nation. A 2016 National Geographic study described Filipino DNA as a magnificent mosaic: 53% Southeast Asian, Oceanian, 36% East Asian, 5% Southern European, 3% South Asian, 2% Native American. Biology itself becomes a narrative. The Filipino people carry the story of multiple worlds woven into one body. The mestizo story adds another layer. Chinese mestizos, Spanish mestizos, Mexican mestizos, tornatras tisois, lineages born from unions that transcended oceans and civilizations. Their lives echo the way God wove outsiders like Ruth the Moabite or Rahab of Jericho into Israel's story, reminding us that identity shaped by God often expands beyond bloodlines. Under American rule, a new blending began. By the 20th century, thousands of Americans lived in the Philippines, and nearly 250,000 Amerasians arose from the encounter. Their existence is a living testament to what happens when histories collide: complexity, yes, but also new expressions of identity. Other minorities, Indian, Arab, Japanese, added their chapters. The Japanese Kirishitan, fleeing persecution, found refuge in the archipelago, echoing biblical exiles who found safety in distant lands. Altogether, these threads form a tapestry unmatched in its variety. Revelation 21:24 describes nations bringing their splendor into God's kingdom. Perhaps the Philippines, with its breathtaking diversity, offers a small earthly glimpse of that heavenly gathering. And maybe, just maybe, the story of the Filipino people is not only about where they came from, but what they were being prepared for. Language in the Philippines is more than communication. It is memory made audible. Filipino and English may stand as the nation's official languages, but the true voice of the archipelago is woven through more than 170 mother tongues spoken across mountains, coasts, and islands. Conversations slip naturally between languages: Tagalog to English, Cebuano to Bisaya, Ilocano to Filipino. Not from confusion, but from a cultural fluency born of centuries of convergence. It is a living metaphor: many voices, one people. Could this linguistic harmony be a reflection of the deeper identity of the nation, an identity shaped not by uniformity, but by the sacred art of unity in diversity? Spanish lingers in borrowed words, a ghost of centuries past. Arabic lives in Mindanao's prayers and traditions, a testament to the archipelago's ancient connection to the Muslim world. Each word, each accent, each shift between tongues is a reminder that the Filipino identity is not singular. It is layered, fluid, and alive. This diversity echoes a biblical motif. Zephaniah 3:9 speaks of a day when God will purify the lips of the peoples so they may call on Him with one voice. The Philippines, in its multiplicity of languages, offers a glimpse of this possibility, many tongues yet capable of a shared purpose. A linguistic mosaic hinting at a spiritual calling. When we step into the realm of ancestry, the story becomes even broader, too vast to fit into a single lineage. Anthropologists trace the Filipino people through ancient migrations: the Negritos, Austronesian voyagers from Taiwan, settlers from Indonesia, and Papua influences from India, China, the Middle East, Japan, Europe, and the Americas. The Filipino genome is a living archive of thousands of years carrying echoes of many journeys. Biblical narratives like those of Noah's sons, Japheth and Ham, have long been used as symbolic frameworks to explore humanity's origins. While these genealogies are not literal maps of global genetics, they offer powerful archetypes: the scattering of peoples, the rise of nations, the spreading of families across the earth. Genesis 10. In a spiritual sense, the Filipino story aligns with these themes, not by bloodline, but by pattern. A people formed through convergence, a nation shaped at the crossroads, a population whose diversity mirrors the ancient vision of humanity dispersing and gathering again. Even the physical features of Filipinos, almond eyes, sun-warmed skin, the spectrum from golden tan to deep brown, testify to this deep interweaving of ancestries. Acts 17:26 declares that all nations share one origin under God. The Filipino people embody this truth vividly, visibly. Their appearance carries whispers of Asia, the Pacific, and beyond traces of migration so ancient that science, archaeology, and biblical motifs each capture only pieces of the whole. Rather than descend from a single patriarch like Tiras or Ham, The Filipino identity emerges from many streams: Austronesian, Negrite, Southeast Asian, East Asian, South Asian, Middle Eastern, European American. It is a tapestry of origins, not a straight line, a convergence, not a single source, and perhaps that is the deeper revelation. The power of the Filipino identity is not in purity of lineage, but in the miracle of fusion. A people formed by many journeys yet bound into one nation, an archipelago that gathered the world and turned it into family. In that sense, the Philippines becomes a living parable of Genesis 10, humanity spreading, meeting, blending, becoming. A land where ancient stories meet modern destinies. A people positioned by history, by geography, by providence, to carry within them the richness of many nations. Maybe the true biblical echo in the Filipino story is not the claim of a single ancestor, but the revelation that God can weave many origins into one purpose. As we stand at the end of this journey, one truth becomes unmistakably clear. The Filipino story is no accident, no random scattering of tribes across a map, nor a mere byproduct of trade winds and migrations. It is a tapestry, so layered, so intricately woven that its origins echo the deepest patterns found in Scripture itself. The narratives of Japheth, Tiras, and Ham, ancient archetypes of humanity's early branching, offer not literal genealogies, but powerful motifs that mirror the Philippines' remarkable convergence of peoples. In their stories, we find a reflection of our own, a nation formed not from one lineage, but from the meeting of many. This is not coincidence, it is calling. What does this revelation teach us today? That identity goes far beyond what the eyes can see. The warm tones of Filipino skin, the multitude of languages spoken across the archipelago, the resilience etched into every chapter of this nation's past. These are not merely cultural features. They are signatures of purpose. They are reminders that the Filipino people were shaped through struggle, preserved through centuries, and positioned in the world with intention. Jeremiah 29:11 speaks of a God who designs futures with hope. The Filipino story stands as living testimony that nothing formed with such complexity was ever meant to be insignificant. And here is where the past touches your present. Whether you are Filipino or someone drawn into the unfolding of this narrative, understand this: your worth is not decided by circumstances or by names others give you, or even by histories you may never fully know. Your worth is written into the fabric of creation itself. Like the Philippines, tested by storms, touched by foreign powers, shaped by mysteries older than memory, you carry a thread of divine purpose woven into you long before you understood it. The true message is this: your identity is deeper than bloodlines. Your life is anchored in destiny. So as we close this chapter, I invite you to honor what is awakened in your spirit. If this story stirred something within, you show your support. Like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss the revelations ahead. And don't leave without leaving your voice in the comments. Your words strengthen this community more than you know. To everyone who supports through shares, comments, and super thanks, thank you. Your presence here helps keep these stories alive. May you walk forward not only with knowledge, but with the conviction that your life is part of a larger tapestry, one woven with intention, beauty, and divine precision. The same God who threads nations together has been threading your story too. And just as the Philippines has risen from obscurity into purpose, so will you rise into the fullness of who you were created to be. Blessings be upon you now and always.